What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome to the Mitch Davis Show. Very special edition of the podcast this week. We're going to be joined momentarily by a man that honestly needs no introduction. A man that has meant so much to the game of college football. Legendary head coach, former head coach, Steve Spurrier will be joining me momentarily to talk about his career, talk about his playing days, and just the honor of receiving the 2022 AutoZone Liberty Bowl Distinguished Citizen Award. It was just such an honor, and I can't wait to share this interview with Coach Spurrier with each and every one of you. I hope you enjoy it. But before we get into the interview, make sure you head on over to the website, themitchdavisshow.com. You can check out the podcast by simply typing in The Mitch Davis Show on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at MitchDavis_8. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook by simply typing in The Mitch Davis Show. At this time, I would like to welcome Coach Spurrier to the Mitch Davis Show podcast.
Mitch.
I am joined now by the legendary Steve Spurrier, the head ball coach himself. Coach, welcome to the Mitch Davis Show. How are you doing?
Mitch, good to talk to you. I'm doing pretty well. I'm down here in Gainesville. I've got a job called ambassador at the University of Florida. So I try to promote our school, all of our sports teams, our university, and so forth. So I do that. And we've got a restaurant down here called Spurrier's Grill that's done very well thus far. So I'm actually going over there tonight and doing some stuff. But so life's pretty good down here in Gainesville.
Coach, I got to ask you, everybody knows you for your golf and obviously your football coaching, but how's the golf game coming along now?
My golf game, Mitch, is not near as good as it once was. But sometimes in life you just have to accept you can't do it the way you used to do it. I think there's a saying that sometimes in life you got to be thankful that even though you can't do it now, you once were able to do it. So my golf game is nothing to brag about, but I still try to go play a little bit.
Coach, I want to, before we jump into your playing career and obviously your coaching career, I want to say congratulations on the award that you'll be receiving on Sunday for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, the 2022 Distinguished Citizen Award. What does that mean to you? Obviously, you've won a lot of awards, but what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, that is a sincere honor to be included with the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Children's Cancer Hospital, as we know, is one of the best charities in the world. We know that people who give to St. Jude's, their money is spent to help the doctors and the families and the children that unfortunately have cancer, and they've done some miracles there at St. Jude's. So it's neat to be associated with them and the Liberty AutoZone. Those guys that run the bowl game there also do a wonderful job for the community of Memphis and for the hospital, St. Jude's Hospital.
Coach, jumping over to your playing days, I want to ask you, what was it like to win a Heisman Trophy? Obviously, we always hear those, about the winner's stories, but what was it truly like to win the Heisman there at the University of Florida?
I think most guys that have won the Heisman really are more concerned about their team and hoping their team can win the conference championship. And then even if their team is really, really good, like Danny Wuerffel and the Gators were back in '96 to win the conference and the national championship. So that was for me, though, we did not win the conference, or we did win the Orange Bowl that year, and I think we finished in the top 10 in the country. So it was a nice individual honor. It seems like the university also gets to be honored when one of their players wins the Heisman. So it was neat to be able to present a Heisman Trophy to the University of Florida. So there's one at the school, and then I have one that's actually in the restaurant now. And actually, Danny Wuerffel has got his Heisman Trophy in our restaurant. So, but back then, you're usually more concerned about team championships than you are individual awards.
Coach, before we talk about your coaching career at Duke and Florida and South Carolina, I want to ask you, what was probably one of your favorite memories as a Florida player?
As a Florida player, What is one of the favorite memories? Maybe a couple of those wins at home against Florida, since we lost the SEC by one game my junior and senior year. But we scored late to beat FSU my junior year. And then my senior year, I guess, fortunate enough to kick a field goal to beat Auburn 30-27 in about the last 2 minutes.
Coach, looking at your historic coaching career, obviously you've won a lot of games over Tennessee, Georgia. What are some of those memories as a coach when you look back now and you're like, man, those were some of those games? What were some of those games to you that really stick out to you?
I think all of the games that ended up that led to a conference championship. And, of course, it started at Duke in 1989. We were fortunate enough to get on a win streak. We had a really, really good offense. It set the ACC record for total yards, pass yards, and all that kind of stuff. And our defensive kids played their hearts out. They really did. We were sort of light on defense, but those guys played, and we were able to go 6-1 in conference play and win the ACC championship. And then I had a chance to go to my alma mater at Florida, where the talent was vastly superior. And, we had defensive players, half of them, I think, played in the NFL for the first few years and so forth. So we were able to win bigger at Florida. Simply, our talent was much better. But, it all started at Duke University. And, so I'm always appreciative, thankful that I got a chance to go there as an assistant coach in the early 80s, and then 3 years as a head coach, 87, 88, 89, 32 or 3 years ago. But that's where it all started at Duke University.
Coach, looking back at the 1996 National Championship game, Florida State, obviously you guys lost that earlier game in the regular season. What went into that game plan against Florida State there at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans to win a national championship?
It really wasn't a whole much different game plan. We put the shotgun in the game before against Alabama in the SEC championship game, and Danny Werfel threw for 6 touchdown passes and 401 yards. So we looked pretty stupid not using the shotgun earlier in some of our games. But, FSU had a sort of a difficult day. I think the flu bug hit some of their guys during the week in New Orleans. And it was a close game at half. I think it was 24-20, something like that. And then we got a quick touchdown in the third quarter, and then our defense shut them out second half. And we were able to run the ball and throw the ball and get a nice win there over FSU.
Coach, I want to ask you about your fun and gun offense. Obviously, you were the granddaddy of them all. That offense was probably some of the most fun football you could ever watch. Talk about that and talk about adapting to those modern times of football as you kind of develop as a head coach.
Well, it was probably started at Duke University and then Tampa Bay Bandits, USFL. In fact, the Memphis Showboats, we played against those guys. And I think we won one and lost one in the 2 games at the Liberty Bowl there against Memphis. So anyway, I got a chance to be a head coach then in the early 80s. And then, you learn a little bit more as you go. And somebody asked me if my offense would work today. I said, my offense would be different today. There's more stuff you learn as you go. All that little bunch formation, guys going, in motion, right? Fly motion, they call it, across from the quarterback. But one thing I would do if I was coaching today, I would still have the quarterback under center probably half the time. It seems like these guys, they have been in the shotgun almost all the time now. And I just think there's some advantages being under center as well as in the shotgun also.
Coach, when you a couple more questions I have for you. Obviously, NIL right now, that's one of the hottest topics of college sports. If you were still coaching, how would you approach NIL?
I'd probably do it about how all the other coaches are doing it. If you're at a school that has a bunch of wealthy boosters, then you're in better shape maybe than some of the others. But, I was talking to somebody the other day, and Texas A&M, obviously, Alabama, Georgia, maybe Ohio State, they seem to be spending more money than anybody else. But still, you got to have teamwork. You got to have effort. You got to have, leaders on the team And money, money just can't buy you a championship. I don't think. It can buy you a lot of good players, but you still got to have that teamwork and leadership and everybody pulling together. So we'll see how it plays out, but it seems like the same old teams in college football are going to win that have been winning the last 7 to 10 years.
Coach, two more questions I have for you. These next two are kind of personal questions that I always like to ask people, but this one in particular, Coach, you obviously abrupt end at South Carolina, but you mentioned it in the SEC Network broadcast talking about retiring and everything. When did you know that it was time for you to step away from being a head coach in college football?
Yeah, I stepped away because I had a team that did not listen to me. I made some mistakes on the coaching staff. I really did. I kept a guy and hired another guy in his spot, and I kept him since he had a couple more years on his contract, and that didn't work out very well. So I had some, we didn't get along. Players, coaches didn't get along, and I did a sorry job. So it was time for me to get out of there. When I asked some of the team guys to do something, and they looked at me like I was crazy, I said, I'm finished with these boys. They don't listen to me anymore. So that's why I left in midseason. It wasn't the losses or anything. I had a team didn't listen to me. And it was my fault because I did not demand it, and I made some mistakes within the coaching staff. I really did. And so we had a messed up team. It's time for me to get out of there. I messed it up, and I was 70 years old, so I wasn't going to wait around and try to rebuild. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I'd already had my run, I figured.
Coach, last question I have for you, and I think this is going to be a fun question for you to answer. Obviously, your coaching career is likely done unless you go, do something a semi-pro with the new USFL or something. But Coach, I want to ask you about your legacy. Obviously, you've coached in a lot of places and you've made an impact on a lot of people. What do you want your lasting legacy to be on the game of not only football, but college football in particular?
Oh, I've never really worried about exactly legacy type things. Certainly, you want to be known as the guy that was honest and he didn't cheat in recruiting or cheat on the field. His team played fair. They didn't hit late. They didn't hit guys out of bounds. They didn't try to hurt quarterbacks. And that's why I admire Alabama. Somebody asked me all the time about Alabama, and I said those guys play the way it's supposed to be played. From Coach Saban to Gene Stallings, all the way back to Coach Bryant, they play clean and they knock the crap out of you. But we're supposed to sort of hit them the same way. But they don't do that mouthing. They don't get in their faces. You don't see them trying to start fights and stuff like that. So hopefully our teams were like that. And we had a few little mouthing instances with some of the teams down here in Florida. But that was the only teams we I guess, had those little incidences with.
Coach, thank you so much for coming on the Mitch Davis Show. It's been an honor to have you.
Okay, Mitch, and I'm looking forward to being up there tomorrow night, Sunday night, and I appreciate the Liberty Bowl and St. Jude's Hospital for presenting me this honor. And it's very neat when you look at all the guys that have received this for 50 years. It started in 1972 with Frank Leahy and Coach Bryant, Bobby Bowden, Archie Manning, and Peyton, and so many outstanding women as well as men, and Coach Eddie Robinson. It's neat to be on a list of guys with Coach Eddie Robinson, who was such a wonderful guy there at Grambling. I think he coached like 55, 57 years or something. So he's one of the all-time greats right there.